Hey, what's up with the AAA I'm at Canton Township Park on a beautiful Wednesday, the end of May. Last Wednesday of May. Can't believe it. This is maybe you needed to hear this today. I've been feeling okay. I got laid off a couple weeks ago. This Monday that just passed, when I filed for unemployment, I got my first payment approved, which is good news. I just haven't received it yet, but, just trusting the process and, making sure my obligations, like with child support and stuff, are taken care of. I mean, there was no way this was going to happen without a couple bumps in the road. But I've managed to stay sober throughout it, and I'm so far. This has definitely been a huge test. And there's definitely been a couple times that for a second, it's kind of like, screw it, what's the point? Or I'm like kind of thinking like why would, and Twisted Tea just came out with a bunch of new stuff. And that was like one of my favorite drinks. And I'm still okay. I'm alright. Yesterday I decided to start taking guitar lessons through a good friend of mine, Dan Baker in Washington, Pennsylvania. That's kind of, I don't know if anybody's seen this, whatever. Be in Washington, but it doesn't really matter. But I decided that I wanted to connect my ear with my brain, because I've been playing, mostly by ear for a really long time. I did take bass lessons whenever I was young, and that definitely was huge. I mean, that was the foundation. Learning, what all the strings are, and learning E and G and A, C, D. That's the base of it. The fundamental, with the major scale. But to connect that with theory and like actual modes and what that means whenever somebody says that, and learning more about what the third and the fourth and the fifth and stuff is, because whenever you hear that and somebody says that is just a part of the major scale. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. So for the G, that's the 7th. Just throw that in. So that I can get better and maybe soloing and like doing the blues and stuff someday. Like I want and relearn kind of like 12-bar blues and what that means, and like because a lot of people want to jump ahead with stuff, and everybody wants to be Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, and it takes so much time and patience, and you really do have to learn things the right way. But I think that's like a microcosm of life, though, too. Obviously, but it's like learning to do things slow and steady before you learn how to do things fast. Everybody always wants to, go 1,000 miles per hour, and then when they burn themselves out, like super quickly and easily, and then they don't want to do it anymore, and they hate the idea of the task. I mean, how familiar does that sound and stuff? It's a swing. It takes a lot of time of just sitting and doing it the wrong way, and you have to also like with life, you have to be able to acknowledge that you're an idiot, and and you're just not nearly as smart and cool as you think you are. I think that's a really important lesson to learn here. so egotistical. And, you know, I mean, Lord knows I was, you know, I definitely, everybody could use a slice of humble pie every once in a while. You know, because this whole thing isn't, it's funny because that's one of the things I've learned on my journey, is that, you know, the media, everything is centered around, you know, this being a you experience. Like, do what makes you feel good, do what makes you happy, do what, you know what I mean? Like, fulfill all your desires and, you know, check all your boxes. But nothing can check all the boxes and fulfill you and make you happy. Like, doing everything, like doing stuff for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, when you learn to stop being a selfish idiot, then you learn to start helping other people and to look at other people, and like, it's, you know, that's where real happiness is. You know, the most self-serving people are usually the most depressed in, you know, in the real scheme of things. And I mean, you know, especially like when you're out partying and drinking, you know, and you're on such a wave, like, sure, whenever you're super drunk and you're lifted on whatever substance, you know what I mean, you're on cloud nine, and you got your adrenaline and your endorphins pumping, yeah, dude, you definitely feel awesome, and you could fight a bear, you know what I mean, and win, or at least like hold your own for a minute. You know, probably not. But you know, with that comes the inevitable and unfortunate huge dip into the depressive dark zone that is, you know what I mean, everything that you've done wrong, and, you know, the voices that tell you how much of a piece of shit you are. You know, and that's the stuff, like, that's painful. That's not what, that being any time spent in that zone is a waste. It sucks, and you don't have to go there. Like, I don't. It's amazing how consistent your emotional well-being can be whenever you stop being an idiot. It's good. Alcoholism is so bad for depression. But it's so funny because everybody that's depressed says that, you know, they drink because they're depressed. But it really is just something. Fortunately, taking SRIs and, you know, maintaining an alcohol-free life have really helped. I mean, it says, you know, you shouldn't drink whenever you're on SSRIs. I'm not, you know, I'm not a doctor. I know people that do. But, I mean, you're never going to feel as good as you would if you did drink. I mean, I just don't think I don't know. Fortunately, I'm coming up on 2 years here soon. July 30th will be 2 years in 2026. And, you know, I definitely have my bearings, and you know, so, like, I have such a different viewpoint on it now. And even just, like, who I was, like, a year ago. Man, I've grown so much in the last year. And obviously, you know, the year before that was, you know, man, you know, you have to be really patient with yourself. You know, you really have to be kind to yourself, like, in the beginning, you know, and know that it is the little wins, and, you know, sometimes if all you can do for the day is brush your teeth and, like, take a shower and make your bed for a minute, that's okay. That is completely okay. And it's okay if that's all that you can do for, like, a week. You know what I mean? Like, there were days where, you know, like, I was still down and whatever, but I didn't stop walking the path sobriety, though, because of it. Like, it still wasn't as bad as, my lows with that. And, I mean, I know that there's just never a question on it. I know that if I have one drink, that it will be just a matter of time before I am back to having to be drunk every second that I'm awake. It's just, I'm an alcoholic, and that's and with being laid off right now, I've never had an opportunity like this, actually. And it's kind of weird because I carry this guilt with it, actually, that, and it's kind of one of the things that I'm really fighting against, is that, like, I feel like I fucked up and I got fired. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I feel like happened. But that isn't what happened. A bunch of people got laid off. Like, this wasn't a personal thing. Like, this is there's, real stuff going on that caused real issues in the current economic climate. Trump starting this war and screwing over China and Europe and whatnot. Like, a lot of money, a lot of international investment was pulled out of this country overnight. People are not happy. And so anyway, I know that it was approved. I haven't got it, but, like, I have a chance to really not just focus on me and, like, do the right thing, but, like, and also, not just take the first job that comes to me and, like, find a job that really, like, I really want. But if I were to start drinking during this, it would turn what could be the best few months of my life, the best summer that I could ask for with my kids, into the worst thing ever. Like, it's crazy how simple just adding alcohol to this situation right here. You know what I mean? My life would, it would destroy it. I would, and that's considering how much, I used to love partying. Sorry, that was, if I had money and I did, and, I could very easily destroy my life right now. Or I could really do something beautiful. I could do something really cool, And right now I'm watching my daughter play at a playground. This is really fun. I'm happy that I got this camera and was able to kind of get this situated, because I'm enjoying this. But so that guilt that I've been carrying with me, it's been really hard to, like, let go. So I've been trying to tell myself a bunch, and to, like, my sponsor and to, like, my circle of the people that care about me, and I try and tell them, and that's okay. Like, sometimes just saying something out loud a bunch of times, and, tell your people, like, hey, like, I did it, this is stupid, but just please tell me again that, like, everything's gonna be okay. And that's sometimes all that you can. Yeah, but, like, if you can get through those periods, like, there was one point, I remember a couple weeks, because there's still a couple other things going on that I'm waiting on answers for, and I just have to trust my higher power and trust the universe, and know that, like, in situations before, whenever maybe some of these decisions that I was really, really counting on to come through that ended up not going my way, or because I was fucking up, it was like karma in a way. Like, I didn't deserve for certain situations to go my way a long time